another interesting journal paper, Interactive Content Diversity and User Exploration in Online Movie Recommenders, a Field Experiment. And it's Ruixuan's son. Welcome.
So pretty glad to be here. It's actually my third RecSys already, but it's my first time actually present on the stage, so super excited. My name is Ruixuan, or some of you may know me as Sophia. I'm a fourth year PhD student at University of Minnesota Group Lens Research, working with Dr. Zhou Konstan. Today I'm going to present our journal paper named Interactive Content Diversity and User Exploration in Online Movie Recommenders, a Field Experiment. This is accepted last year by International Journal of Human-Computer Interaction. The motivation for this project is actually from my HCI background. So we want to understand about the problem of user exploration from beyond metric-driven aspects. Pigeonholing is actually a pretty common phenomenon in recommender systems, which means users get too narrow or too similar recommendations to those they have already seen. I think some other terms for that are filter bubbles or echo chambers describing similar events. So our motivation is to understand how can we help users who would benefit from having more diversity from the recommenders, and also what kind of particular interaction control interfaces would help them. There are three research questions we explore in this space. The first one is to understand their goals and attitudes to our exploration and pigeonholing in recommender systems. The second is to understand their preferences for a new interface in terms of facilitating their exploration. And finally, we want to understand how can this new interface affect their exploration, engagement, and satisfaction for those with different diversity consumption habits. The method we apply here is a mixed method end-to-end design. We are lucky to have MovieLens not as a data set, but as a platform and with thousands of active users. So we conduct some field experiments, try to understand the real user attitudes via a formative interview. After that, we facilitate their exploration with two new interfaces, and we conduct between subject longitudinal studies to understand the treatment effects. Specifically, we quantify both the during and post-experiment behavior changes. Finally, we do a bunch of log analysis and surveys, and I will show some of the findings later in this presentation. First findings from our formative interview. We interviewed 17 active users from MovieLens. We asked them 7 questions around their usage patterns, their exploration goals to come into this movie recommender, their pain points, as well as their preferred interactive interfaces that can better help them explore more diversely. So most users actually have experienced pigeonholing before, but they express 2 types of attitudes. The diverse users say, well, yeah, I prefer to get broader choices and jump out from this pigeonhole, while the non-diverse users express that, well, narrow recommendation can bring more personalized and short-listed items, so I don't have to, actually spend more time to find the things that actually interest me. So inspired by that, there are also 2 diversity interfaces we developed based on users' choices. So specifically, this is from the last question from our interview. We asked them, here's a list of all the feasible interfaces that we consider can help you explore in future recommender experiences. Can you select your top 2 or select something that interests you? And these 2 actually stands out from their votes. On the left side, you can see there's a broad recommendation carousel, which is actually a curation of most diverse, yet still somehow personalized recommendations for users based on their histories and based on some of our baseline recommender algorithms. On the right side, it's a 1 step beyond. So we add a level of control. Users can actually use a 5-level slider to control the diversity of their recommendations. Specifically, we design a re-ranking algorithm based on a greedy k-means clustering. if the narrow level is just 1, which means users will only see movies from certain number of clusters. In our case, it's 5 clusters of all movies. However, if they toggle that all the way to 5, which is the broadest options, those are actually from 24 different clusters. And all those clustering methods, for detail, you can find the algorithm in our paper. So for diverse users, our findings from observing their behavior changes in a 6-week longitudinal study is that they actually keep engaging more in those 2 new interfaces. On the left side is actually the rating count for how many users come and then give ratings during their interaction sessions with a recommender. And we see this slider interface help users actually give more ratings than the only carousel interface. On the right side, it's another engagement metric, measuring their session length. So we also see that the new diversity interfaces help them explore more and engage more. Also, diverse users, like who actually rated a lot of diverse movies in the past, are more satisfied with the interfaces. We run our ordinal linear regression with some post-survey questions surrounding all those different metrics. And then we find that in the consumption habits, 1 stands for diverse, 2 stands for non-diverse. Actually, diverse users are more satisfied with the overall changes we introduced. While for non-diverse users, they step out of their comfort zone and also explored and engaged with broader movies. So we have this exploration matrix, which is like the detailed movie views users have actually watched. And then on the right side is their login frequency, so they actually go back more frequently compared to a control group. In terms of the control level, since this is a linear regression towards user satisfaction, we find more control actually decrease their satisfaction because the more control, like the slider interface has more control than the carousel-only interface, but users are actually less satisfied with their recommendation. However, they express they prefer the new interfaces even if they are not satisfied. So, sometimes the real user studies, the charm of that is you can find some seemingly contradicting results, but they're actually backed by a lot of different reasons. So here's some finding highlights. To summarize, user engagement was positively impacted by the interfaces, supported by they log in more frequently, stayed longer, and contributed more ratings. However, there still exists a diversity, accuracy, and trust trade-off. We've done a lot of qualitative analysis and thematic analysis in the paper. Here's just one quote from a non-diverse carousel-only user. They say that the broad recommendation didn't work for me. I suspect because the confidence was low. I saw that the movies recommended most were still the movies with lower than 3 prediction score. I'd rather skip this. So, which actually imply that user will rely heavily on what kind of predictions they can get from the recommender, and their trust is highly associated not only with the diversity, but also certain amount of accuracy. And finally, there's no monotonic relationship between user control level and satisfaction. So the implication for future of this study is first, we need to provide some kind of personalized controls for users to facilitate their different exploration needs. And we also need to understand from more subject experiences perspective and incorporate that preferences into machine learning and AI model training. We will advocate for human-in-the-loop recommender design, specifically considering accuracy, diversity trade-off, and blending the transparency and trustworthiness aspects. We also want to extend this study to co-star users. So all the users in this study are active users who have explored more. So maybe co-star users have another kind of behaviors. And we also want to generalize to other recommendation domains, not only on movies. So that is, thank you for listening. And you can check more details of our paper by this journal link. I'm ready for questions.
Thank you. Congratulations. I saw just one question on Slido, but unfortunately we don't have time right now. Please remember to check the questions. Thank you very much.